Hi guys, I read 11 books this October. Watch till the end of the video to see if I had any five-star book recommendations to give. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Amaka and I read a lot, as you have guessed, and I like to come on here and tell you guys about the books I read in the month. This is probably going to be a long video, so grab your food or your drink or something to munch on, and also don't forget to grab your phone or a notebook to write book recommendations, and let's go. Out of the 11 books I read, there were 6 romance books, there were 3 fantasy books, there was 1 mystery, and then there was 1 general fiction. I finally come to the conclusion that my favorite genre for books and movies is fantasy. I used to think it was romance, but it's definitely fantasy. But the fantasy has to have like a subplot of romance in it, or there has to be like great friendship, like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, like they were like the friendship was there was like a brotherhood, there was friendship. I like that. So stuff like that. So the first book I read was Bride. This was written by Ali Hazelwood. She's a very popular romance writer that usually writes books about women in STEM. And I think she just said to dip her toes into fantasy. I saw reviews about this book before I read it. Some people really liked it. Some did not understand it. Some didn't like it. I thought it was fine, like because it was way better than I expected it to be because I haven't enjoyed other books, so I was really happy to like this one. This book was about a werewolf and a vampire getting married to foster an alliance between their two groups. This book was just vibes, like there was no strong world building, the plot wasn't too serious, it was easy to read, it was very fast paced. I liked it. It wasn't too serious. It was just vibes. It was very nice. I gave it 3 stars. The second book I read in October was Only Big Bomb Bomb Matters in Lagos Tomorrow. This was written by Damla Kuku. She's also the one that wrote the very popular Nearly All the Men in Lagos Are Mad. That was a book of short stories. This one is a very short novel. I read this with my friend Dami. This book is about a young girl who just graduated from university and told her family members on the day of her dad's will reading that she was going to go to Lagos to fix her bum. Um, I really like the writing style in this book. I like that it was multiple POVs, multiple POVs done very well. We had the POVs of the point of views of like 6 characters, which was crazy, which was a lot, but she still wrote it really well. I feel like Damla Kuku has the capability to do great things. Like she just giving us small. She gave us short stories first, and then now this short book. And I feel like she's very capable of writing something really good and deep if that's what she's going for. So I didn't really like the plot of the story, and then I didn't like a lot of the characters, but I love the dad. The dad is the first. So this book was the first time I read an African dad written so well. Like this man was awesome. I really liked him. There were also some plot twists in the book that I felt didn't land well. For instance, there was a character in the book that left her family for years, and I really wanted to know what happened. Like I really wanted to know what her mom did, and at the end when we were told what happened, it was flat. Like it wasn't it didn't make any sense to me, right? So another thing I liked about the book was that all the characters, most of the characters in this book, did a lot of stupid stuff to make themselves happy, but they still face the repercussions for the actions. Like I feel like you're allowed to do anything as long as it's legal and ethical to make yourself happy, but be ready for the consequences of the actions that you did. Like if you can take it, that's fine. Yeah, so the book was a very good book all around. Yeah, so I gave it 3 stars. I'm looking forward to her next book, definitely. So the next book I read was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I read this book at the beginning of October, and I did a video where I recorded myself reading just fantasy for the week. It was a very fun week. You can check that out if you like. I spoke a lot about the book there. So this book was on almost everybody's top 23 books of 2023 last year. So I really wanted to know what it was about because people really liked it. I like the fact that the book was double POV. The writer even dedicated the book to her friend or somebody, to the person that convinced her to give us the POV of the male main character, and his POV was so important. Like his POV was one of the things that made me like the book as much as I did. So the book was about two rivals at work, a guy and a girl. They were writers in a newspaper company and they were fighting for a promotion. They both went to write serious stuff because there was a war going on and they went to write what was happening at the forefront. It's called forefront, right? At the front, at the battleground, on the battleground. But they were made to write fluff and they didn't want to write that anymore. And I didn't really like the plot of the story because I didn't really understand the reason for the war. It made no sense to me. um but I love the love story. The love story was amazing. I really liked the book, and I gave it 3.5 stars, no, 3.75 stars. And I'm looking forward to book two because the book one ended on a cliffhanger. I really want to know what happened after. The next book I read in October was The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This was the second book I read in my Reading Fantasy for a Week video and my first book by this author. This book was also in my book haul video. I spoke a lot about this book there. It was like it's on my list of anticipated reads for 2024, right after A Little Life, which is the best book in the world, by the way. So this book was about a human girl who entered into a tournament against like really, really strong vampires. Like I was scared for her. Like it was so scary. But she was so strong. She had a strong character. She had learned how to fight growing up. So everything was looking good for her, right? Yeah, but that's where my love for this book ended. This story, the plot was, I don't know, I wasn't into it. Yeah, I didn't really like it. I gave it 2.5 stars. But I started book two yesterday and it's looking really, 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 really good. I read reviews about the book two, and a lot of people said most people that like book one don't like book two, but people that like book two did not like book one. So I think I'm part of that group. I don't know why I'm liking it so much. I don't know if it's because it's dual POV. I love dual POV, or if the writer changed the style of the writing, or if it's because the girl is less annoying because she was so annoying in book one. I don't know, but it's looking really, really good, and I hope I can tell you guys this November that it was 5 stars. Okay. So the next book I read was Done and Dusted. It's looking at cowboy romance. It's like the new kid on the block. Everyone is getting obsessed with them. There's this series, and then there's also the Flawless series by Elsie Silva. People are really loving them. This book was about a woman and her elder brother's best friend. She was a horse rider, I think, and then he was a bar owner. Yeah, I didn't really like this book. It wasn't really for me. There was no plot, nothing was happening in the book, and I think it was unnecessarily spicy. Um, yeah, that was it. I gave it 2.5 stars. But I usually feel bad when I come on here and give you guys books with like low ratings, but I can't come here and then lie to you guys that I like the book when I didn't like the book. And I also want to mention that books are very personal and everyone has their own relationships with books. So because I like a book doesn't mean you will like the book and vice versa. But if we have very, very similar tastes, if you find that all the books I've said I like, you also like them, the probability that you will hate the books I hate is very high. So even with all the book clubs I'm in, we rarely like the same books. Like we rarely, some people will think a book is very, very good, and some will think no, this book was written so badly. Like we might not write like the same plot or the same writing style. Like it's fine. Even my sisters, we like different things. So if I give a book a low rating, doesn't mean you shouldn't read the book. But if we have very, very similar style, don't read the book or read it like. So the next book I read, or should I say listen to, was Say You Be Mine. I did the audiobook for this one, but if I find it, the day I find it, I'm not going to think twice. I'm going to buy it immediately. It was the typical classic Indian love story. So there was matchmaking, there were funny aunties and moms, there was placing high expectations on kids. It was a very, very good book. There was also some tropes that I liked. So there was forced dating, not forced dating. There was fake dating and then forced proximity. And I feel these guys go hand in hand because if you're acting like you're dating someone, you guys have to be in the same spaces. So there was that. I really, really liked the book. So this book was not like earth shattering or like mind blowing. There was nothing special about it. I don't know if it was just the phase I was in or my mood, but I really, really liked the book. I gave it 4.5 stars. Yeah. So the next book I read was Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This book, I was so scared to read this book because of the hype around it. Like there's so much hype. Everybody says this book is a good book, but they didn't disappoint. Christina and Lauren did not disappoint. So this book, I loved so many things about this book, but what I loved the most was the like. I think it was like, how do I express myself now? So this book just showcased people's love for books. So in the book, the main character loved books. Her parents loved books. She met a boy that loves books. Like how many times did I say love in 1 minute? Um, so this book went across different timelines. There was the past where Macy met Elliot and spent like summers and weekends with him, becoming best friends. And then there was the present where they told us about the challenges she faced as a resident, her relationship with people, meeting Elliot again. It was very exciting. Then I've read a few Christina Lauren books and they weren't spicy at all. I don't remember them being spicy. So I was a bit surprised when there was spice in this book. Yeah. So this book would have been 5 stars, but I gave it 4 stars because of the miscommunication trope. There was something that happened that led to so many horrible things happening in this book because of just miscommunication. That's why I gave it 4 stars. But it was a very, very good book. I really, 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 really liked it. I highly recommend. So the next book I read was It's One of Us by JT Ellison. I need to read like 1 or 2 more of her books to know if she's going to be on my auto buy writers list. So this book was the book called Pick for October, and I was so excited. Well, I wasn't excited about it at the beginning, but when I started reading it, it was so engaging. I was so happy. There was also multiple POV. We got the point of view of like 6 people in the book, and it was not confusing at all. So let me try and describe the book without giving a spoiler because I didn't read the synopsis of the book. So I don't know what has already been told to us, to everybody. So this book was about a couple trying to have a baby, was about the inconsistencies, or should I say the uncertainty of IVF. It was also about sperm donation and how it affects the children gotten from that. It was also about, I think there was a kidnapping case and the police was trying to solve the case. Funny fact, the writer told us the culprit in the middle of the book. So I was like, what else is gonna happen? You already told us like who did what, right? But she pulled it off, right? It was still engaging. I really, really liked this book. But there was a love triangle in this book that I did not like. I was not a fan of. Yeah, and then what else? There was a lot of plot twists in this book, and I was so scared that I won't remember half of them to discuss with my friends. But I still remembered, and it was so good, and we had a lovely discussion. I highly, highly recommend this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was so good. So the next book I listened to was Happily Never After. So you know, in churches where they do this, if you don't think so, if you don't think these 2 people should get married, speak now or forever hold your peace. Yeah, that's how they met, and she hired him to object at her wedding. So after this, they became friends and they became objectors, and then one thing led to another, and then they fell in love. I didn't really like this book. It wasn't for me. There was nothing happening. Yeah, I gave it 2.5 stars. So the next book I read was Love Unwritten. I read book 1 of the series in September. I liked it. I gave it 3 stars. This one was about the cousin of the guy in book 1 and his son's nanny. It was very fun and flirty, nothing serious, just a simple read. Um, I also gave this one 3 stars. I felt like it was too long. It was like 600 pages. And I feel like no pure romance book should be more than 500 pages. Even 500 pages is a lot. This was 616 or something ridiculous. But it was still a good book. I liked it. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. So the last but not the least book I read was One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I feel like I say this lady's name in every video and you guys must be tired of hearing her name, but she's just so awesome. and her books, most of her books are awesome. This was very awesome. A lot of people think her books are boring, but I highly disagree. I feel like her books are usually more character driven than plot driven. Like her books don't usually have like serious plots, just mainly about things the characters are going through and stuff like that. And her writing is just like beautiful. Like it makes me feel so good. I'm like blushing talking about her writing. So picture this, right? A woman finally gets married to her high school crush and soulmate of 10 years. Like they finally get married. A day before their 1 year anniversary, he decides to go for a job and he travels and there's a plane crash and he's gone forever. She finally moves on 2 years after she starts dating somebody. 2 months after her engagement to this new guy, she gets a phone call by no one else but her husband. He's back. Crazy. One of the annoying things about this decision making process for this woman was that both guys were awesome guys. She had been through things with two of them. They were both in love with her, so it was so hard for her to decide. I can't imagine how hard it was for this writer to decide on who she wanted the woman to be with. Like it was so confusing, and I like the way all the characters involved handled the situation. Like they were understanding. She annoyed me a few times, but what she went we what she was going through, I pardoned her. Like I understood. It was very hard. There's so many moments in this book where I was so tempted to just flip to the back and see who she ended up with, but I resisted the temptation. I was good. Yeah, so I wish I could just come here and tell you guys that I liked the end of this book, but no, I hated it. I did not like it at all. She picked the other guy, not my guy. But I definitely understand the logic of her choice, and I also know that that was the right choice for her because of what was going on. But I wish the circumstances were different and she was able to pick my guy. But he was fine at the end of the day. And yeah, the book was a very good book. I highly recommend. I think I gave it 4.25 stars. Yeah, if she ended up with my guy, I'll give me 5 stars. But well, 4.25 stars. So you guys, you know who I'm talking to. You guys that don't like this writer because of Daisy Jones and the Six, just read this book. Read this book. She'll become your fave. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Thank you for sticking with me till the end. I recently found out that we are now 100 subscribers. Thank you. So yeah, so let me know the books you guys plan to read this November in the comments. Maybe I'll pick up one of your books. Yeah, have a good week. Bye.